Now you know I'm in trouble. Alright, something I had done earlier today, but apparently they didn't like it on YouTube. I did a live and nobody saw it, there's no doubt about that. But it was on the diagnostics and some other stuff, repairs of John Deere tractors in particular, because I saw someone on here posted something about Deere tractors and how terrible Deere is treating the people. And guess what? Okay, to be frankly honest, I hate John Deere. I hate everything about them. I hate their engines. They only make two good ones anyway. 6068 and a 4045. Other than that, the rest are junk. Seriously, 12.5s, 13.5 junk. A 6090 passable. A 6080 junk. 6081, it's 8.1 liter. A 2024 horrible. 5030 junk. I mean, junk. Did I say junk? We had, what was it? 6 Ingersoll Rand portable units, trailers. Had 4 compressors and 2 compressor generator combinations. The compressors had John Deere 2024s in them. Or is it 2042? 2024. And the last 2 had Yanmars in them. The generator compressor combinations. There were only 2 of the 6 that started that cold day. Yanmar. The Deere didn't even puff out smoke. They came from the same job site, same company, same fuel. Just saying. Which means they were in the same general work area. Yeah, it was a hard day to start, but the Kubotas and the Yanmar started. Not one single Deere even smoked. Never even attempted. So that's just another thing altogether. When you talk about repairs and diagnostics on some of these things, I bash Deere all the time, but at the same time, this time I can't. The people are smashing Deere, saying that the farmers and such can't repair the unit. Well, there's 2 problems there. One of them is I can pull a diagnostic unit out. Oh, hang on a second. Look at the light. All right. Spent a few seconds there away. Now I'm back. Now I'm going to show you 2 units that I have used successfully on ag tractors and industrial to some extent, not well, on a 5030. Alright, this is a good one. This is no longer available either. This is an HD reader. It's as simple as can be. Heavy duty code reader. That's it. Made by Bosch. Max stuck their name on it. This is the older series. That's the 5-pin. This is the 9-pin gray, or black, depending on how you look at it. This is the old technology, the old language system. Still J1939, but that's an older baud rate, so to speak. So for even some of the newer Deeres, this has worked well pulling stuff up from them. Now, if you see a John Deere diagnostic port that is green, well, you no longer can read it with this unit, period. Then that's anybody's. If it's green, you will not read. Now, another thing I will tell you too, I have hooked this to multiple Case IH tractors with green and non-green ports. Even the Bosch unit will not read anything Case IH that I ran into, and I tried about 5 different tractors. Old, new, in between. 9-pin plug-in, nothing. Wouldn't even tell you there was a controller. Now, this is one that's supposed to work, and I'll show you one that has worked recently on the John Deere. And this is why I'm kind of skeptical about all these lawsuits and the battles. The only thing I can figure is Deere has deeper pockets than anybody else. Okay, this is like a $250 unit. Nexic. Blue Mini. Blue Link it calls itself here. But they call it a Blue Mini Link because there's another version that has the trapezoid plug on the other side like you'd use in the automotive sector. 9-pin, the green for the more modern communication systems. And this thing reads an app on your phone. literally. You use the button there to pair the two. And then on here, oh, let me close that out and pull this up. I don't use it much, so it's good. There it is. First link. First link by Nexic. You plug in. You have to have a unit to power it up to plug in to pair the two. It'll tell you faults, life and trip, vehicle specs, parameters, and a report. It actually gives, it has a generic list of parameters, period. It only fills in the information that the unit gives. I worked on a case tractor and it wouldn't give us a code. However, when we went through the parameter list, went down and saw that the transmission was minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And it was 80 out. And they had a code for that. We pulled the plug and the code changed completely. So we knew that the basic system from here to the controller was good. You replaced the sensor, $200 some worth of sensor, and was able to repair it. This didn't give the code from the Nexic system, but it did show the parameter that was the problem. So this is an inexpensive way that can help you out. If it gives you any information, it is good data, it is clear, and if you know how to take a screenshot and you on your phone, you can print the data off. You can email it to yourself. That's a plus. Now I haven't tested this yet. However, here we go. This is why I bought this unit. Two reasons. One of them is this one. I know it can read. The other one is this one. It's a newer Bosch unit. Just the other unit's a Bosch as well that I showed you, the Mac unit. Now this is Mac's version. Right there. This is the update with the green. This is supposed to be able to do the reading for the heavy duty, similar to the other one. And if Bosch has told me in the past that with these simple code readers, they put a massive list in there. And if there is a generic J1939 code or enhanced code available, these units will pick it up. So this one in particular, because it's designed for it. So you want to save yourself a few bucks, I'd go ahead and try this thing. Why? Because some of your trucks, we're talking from the late 80s on up, most of your over-the-road trucks have some form of electronic system with your engine in particular. So this is designed specifically for heavy-duty truck, on-road, J1939 systems. Now, don't ask me why these idiots in Congress felt that all the trucks and cars had to have generic code systems for the rest of us to read, and not ag or construction. No idea why. However, both of those units, most likely, because my other heavy-duty unit there, the old HD, can pull stuff up from general construction equipment. If you have a Komatsu and certain John Deere stuff, you don't need it. It'll bring it right up like a loader's John Deere loader. It'll bring it right up in that little MMRCS, DQRST, whatever they're calling their monitors this time. And most of your codes will be pulled up there. There are some codes in engines that are pretty specific that you won't be able to pull up. There's other codes you will. There's some that'll pull up temporarily and then won't show up later. There's a lot of problems with reading in Deere, but that's usually in the construction side, and you can pull it up. So what's my point here? I'm telling you ways that I do diagnostics, have done diagnostics on these things on the computer side, so that you can do it there as well. And if you want to sue Case and John Deere and Agco or whoever, go ahead and sue them. But the thing of it is, it's unfortunate, but it appears our government itself is going to have to get involved and say, oh, look, we're doing it for the heavy-duty truck, guys. Now, the other part is Deere's, even when you can't read a Deere code, on the older tractors, they have a specific Deere code. And if you go by code, like I have with the diesel laptops, you can use the John Deere code in the list. It'll get you there. But then also in the list from the code, there will be SPN, suspect parameter number, and an FMI, which is your fault mode indicator, which is a fancy term for saying this is the system that has the problem and this is what's busted. Voltage too high, voltage too low, open circuit. You know, it's what they used to call some of them in-range faults on some of the newer stuff. And they also say that data is valid but out of range. It gives you an idea of what the computer is reading, saying, throwing the code. The SPN is suspect parameter number, meaning the list, the item, and the system that it's in. The other one you'll see is PID, parameter identification. Well, that's another one altogether. Talk about crapping up a system. The PID just gives you an idea of what controller that it's in. If you have multiple controllers, or if you have a single controller with multiple sections, it'll tell you which one that you're basically looking at. Because some of them, as in the case tractors, you will go through your monitor and you will have to choose which controller that code is in. And you can look at it with their Easy Engine and their Case EST electronic service tool, but you have to make all the changes in the actual monitor. Yeah, and the EST and its description of how to change it in the monitor is just, how can you say it? It's as clear as cow manure with diarrhea full of corn. It's just, it's garbage. I mean, I got spoiled with Komatsu and Cummins. Totally spoiled. I mean, you walk into the Komatsu and you got a problem. Even when you have a problem with the Cummins Komatsu engine in the back, it comes through the monitor. All your reading and codes and everything else can be done there. The only thing you go into the engine for is if you need to clear the actual engine code. It may have gone into a past code. You've cleared it in the monitor and in the Komatsu side. It's still left in the Cummins list in the Cummins controller. But because the two communicate, it doesn't cause a problem leaving that code in there. You don't have to go play in the engine at all. You never have to hook up to the engine, in fact, unless you're working with occasionally the DPF and sensors there, but most often with the SCR system, your horse urine, DEF. That system's a little different animal where you do have to get into it once in a while and resets. Some of the DPF resets you do right there in the monitor, even with the Cummins build engine put in the Komatsu, or Komatsu built Cummins engine in the same machine. They all have the same software. It's Cummins. Licensed by Komatsu because they're partners. So I got spoiled. Cat, wow. I mean, I couldn't believe that people didn't come from Cat to Komatsu because of the simplicity of our service. But then again, once you have a fleet of Cat, yeah, you got a fleet of familiar things, you're going to stay with them. You see, if that doesn't have anything to do, actually it does. Because a lot of the similar engines are used in both ag and construction world. So why not talk about them, right? And let you know that when you're in the ag side, construction is handled slightly different. If I go look for a code in a John Deere backhoe, the later ones anyway, skid steers, even some of the excavators, loaders, I'm going to come up with an SPN code, a standard J1939 SAE American code. This is going to come up. 5 or 6 digits, most of them are 5 anymore. They use zeros in the front that you don't necessarily have to. There's some of them that have 00091 dot 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 20 for your FMI codes, your fault. So, excuse me. So you can play along with that. Diesel Laptops has a system for off-road codes. It does not work well. I went through a Deere one time I got a Deere code, went to look up the Deere code for a guy, and you had to know what the controller's actual designation was. Yeah. And if you didn't know that, you had to go through a list of, what was it that I went for one? I had to go through 38 controllers. 38 in the list. On the code list, you're searching for a code. Well, the code only exists in certain controllers because Deere might have 5, 6, 7, 8 controllers in the tractor. You have to know which one it came out of. If it just says, here's the code, but it doesn't tell you which controller it came out of. And sometimes it'll tell you transmission controller. But the transmission controller may have a different designation in the Diesel Laptops list. So it's a disaster. So if you're on the farm and you're working and you want to get an ag program from Diesel Laptops to work with your tractor, I'm going to say it's a 50-50 shot whether you're going to spend $7,000 and it's going to be worth it. Just a true story from experience. I've got as much from the code readers, easier than hooking up the diesel laptops. The only thing I use the diesel laptops for, and you can do this with a $500 or $1,000 little computer, or like my tablet here, $700 or $800 tablet, store your manuals in it. That's all that laptop's good for, is having a bigger screen, store the manual. True story. So anyway, I figured I'd drop that on here for you folks. And it's still letting me go by. I guess I'm down to 23 minutes and I'm allowed. They gave me more time. I wonder why that is. I'll take it. Folks, be good, and remember, when you're looking for diagnostics to do some of the repairs, don't be so dang scared. One guy sat there and looked at me and says, diesel laptops, well, what happens if you plug it in, it fries my computer? And you say, well, that's a legitimate. Well, it is, but it isn't. If something's wrong in the wiring, A, you need to know, and B, the other one is, the controller doesn't like it, it shuts off the diagnostic plug. You say, well, no, wait, no, what? If any one of the sensors shorts out, what's it going to do? If the motor actuator on your turbocharger fails and shorts, what's it going to do? Disconnect it. If an injector shorts or grounds, what's it going to do? Shut it off. You'll still be running. These computers don't like something, they shut it off. You know what kills the computer more than anything else? Screwing up your software upload. Woo-hoo-hoo. I got a warning on the John Deere. If you're putting Hitachi software in there, don't you dare let that battery run out of power. Don't you touch a switch or anything else, because it'll be and there goes your controller. Yeah. If it doesn't fry it electrically, it'll fry it software. Yeah. Komatsu's is considerably more robust. They had a bad controller on one engine of the PC360, and it was sending an AC signal back through and screwing up the communications. What did it do? Just shut off communication. They had enough to gain the RPM connection to run the engine separately. In other words, the dial controlled the engine. And the engine was trying to send information to the monitor. And the monitor said, no, you ain't. So one guy took somebody else, because he didn't want to talk to other people, and explained it to him, that he went through and did all this stuff and wrote it down for him. And he says, didn't mean anything to you. I couldn't even tell you what we were looking at. He says, I looked at this neat little oscilloscope screen and found out it was a bad communication. And I said, what was the code? Bad communication from engine controller. Engine controller fault. Okay. And another one, don't overthink some things. I had a jackass up there that we were working on a PC290, and as soon as you turned the key on, snap, fuse blew. Didn't do anything else. In fact, it got so bad that when they started doing the troubleshooting, you turn the main power back on, snap, take the fuse out, everything turned up, lit up, but there was nothing. Crank the engine, won't start. Took a look at what fuse it was that blew, the circuit that it was on, and it was the main power fuse for the engine controller. Unplugged the engine controller, problem disappeared. Plug in engine controller, fuse blew. Problem solved, right? Not for a jackass sitting behind a desk with a phone and a computer and a car out front, a moron. We knew what the problem was. Finally got the thing. He said, what if it's the injectors, because it's all these codes? I said, yeah, because the unit was failing, and as it was failing, it was turning off parts of the circuits. You could see it right in the time frame. You could follow it. It's running out of power, and then it finally shorted, so there's nothing there. What are you going to do? I said, you want me to? I'll disconnect the injectors. That's the best I can do. They said, some of them I can't disconnect. He said, what do you mean? You want me to pull the entire air intake apart, turbo and everything off? Down? No. Okay. Unhooked one bank of injectors, the first ones that were going out, cranked the thing over, no problem, or turned everything on, no problem, plugged it back in, no problem, fired up and ran. The intern that was with me said, what in the world was his problem? Well, he said, I made him mad once and he's never going to give it up. He said, he's a child and a coward. He says, well, I would have used a lot stronger words than that. said the intern. So don't overcomplicate things. Troubleshoot them down until there's nothing left. Well, yeah, but no, in our case, we knew one thing. The injectors that were involved were not even involved. When you turned the power on, the fuse blew. We hadn't even turned the key on to activate the controller. Okay? So don't overthink saying you absolutely have to have a computer to check these things. Because you don't. It snapped. It blew. And you look in the dash monitor, it says, hey, nothing's here. And it'll tell you what's going on. Now, you start having more than 3 codes, yeah, you need to start doing, actually more than 2 codes, but 3 is a pretty good number. That you need to start looking for a commonality. What one code would cause the others. And I've had that in certain circumstances where there was a power problem that caused an engine surge, and there was a fuel system problem that caused an engine surge in each case. And there were 4, 5, 6 other codes that all went with the surge. And those are things you have to be there to figure out. That's when you call your serviceman and you're having trouble figuring out, well, what's causing a surge. Well, it might be something stupidly simple. Look at your codes. Engine surge, fuel filter trouble, fuel rail pressure low, fuel, and it'll simplify your troubleshooting. I got 3 fuel codes. The word F-U-E-L, fuel. That's where you start. It may not be where you end, but that's where you start. You have to be sure that certain parts of your system have integrity. Hydraulics, the same thing, identical. You have to be sure you have enough oil, good oil, clean oil, suction screens clean, main filter, return filter clean, all of that. And then once you've checked all of that to be sure it's good, nope, not making any other funky noises, and now you got a code, yeah. Now you call your serviceman. Because if he even comes out to replace one of your funky service valves for the remote hydraulics in the back, and he pulls the dipstick out and there's not enough oil and it looks crappy, some of those companies will jump in their truck and leave. You say, why? I want him to fix that. Well, yeah, I want him to fix that, but he knows there's another hydraulic problem coming in the future and doesn't want to get blamed for it. I've seen that too often. You touched my tractor. No, this went bad. Yeah, right. I got your engine running. You're complaining your brakes are making noise? Can't help you, buddy. That's another bill. It better not be. See ya. And you're not wrong to kick him to the curb. And it won't be wrong if you're the one kicked to the curb if that's how you look at it. Guy fixes your fuel system, your engine's running good, and then all of a sudden you throw a rod. That's you, not him. You'll get a lot better service if you understand your systems. You'll get a lot better treatment if you can talk with your people and have them describe to you what they're doing and what's going on. They don't like people looking over their shoulder. No, they don't. But quite often, if you're careful about it and trying to learn, they'll tolerate it and just understand it's going to cost you another hour or two at $100 and some an hour. But if you're already paying thousands, it's your machine. You need to know what it is, what's going on. So